Who are the ad watchers? We are attorneys at the National Advertising Division of BBB National Programs, a team with over 50 years of experience investigating and resolving disputes over the accuracy of national advertising campaigns.
We don't just take ads at face value, we put them to the test. Why? Because advertising law can be simple, but it's the execution that's hard. Welcome to our second episode of the season here on Ad Watchers, NAD's podcast that gives a view into how our organization reviews claims and applies advertising law. If you missed any of our previous episodes, don't forget to check them out later. They are available wherever you are listening to this. This episode, we are continuing our focus on different product category trends at NAD.
So, Annie, what are we talking about today?
Today is all about our animal friends. We are going to talk about some of our recent cases involving pet products. The market for pet-related products has grown and become more sophisticated in recent years, with more products offering pet owners all kinds of new options, for everything from what kind of food to feed them to how to clean up after them. We've even seen dietary supplements for pets become the subject of NAD challenges.
Now, neither of us is a current pet owner, but we love animals and appreciate the length some humans will go to get whatever is best for their pets and how closely they pay attention to what they buy for them. So we've seen that from some of the cases we are going to discuss today. It's really been an education on what's out there, pet product market today.
So, Eric, tell us about your first pet.
Oh, Annie, my first pet was a rabbit named Daryl. I had him when I was about 6 years old, but it was only a couple of days before he ran away, or at least that's what my parents told me. So gone and never seen again, unfortunately. But we did have a golden retriever who became part of the family for a long time, lived to a ripe old age. So I have some experience with pets, more positive experiences with pets, thankfully. So we'll talk about our pets today. What about you, Annie?
Well, I love golden retrievers. They're my favorite breed. But so I'm a dogless dog lover. But as a kid, our next door neighbor had two dogs, and a mixed breed and a husky. And my grandmother used to give both dogs just the best food. You know, anything she made that was meat based, she would feed them. And so they felt like my dogs. And, you know, that speaks to, you know, the fact that, you know, pet parents, of course, want the very best for their pets. So it's no wonder that they are very choosy about what they are going to feed them.
So we'll start today's episode talking about two very recent cases. And these involve the food that is available for pets these days. Two very recent cases. First, our first case, the advertiser was Freshpet. And they make pet food for dogs that is, as the name indicates, fresh. It's stored in the refrigerator. And they had a series of advertisements that were the subject of a challenge by the farmer's dog, a competing company. And the issue here was whether the advertising communicated a message that this freshly stored pet food is human grade, which is a specific level of quality, meaning that it is fit for human consumption. So the question was, did the advertiser go too far in communicating a message that its food was human grade when it was up? So the first ad we looked at had included a line at the beginning which said, "How does Freshpet make healthy food for dogs? The same way you make healthy food for people." The advertiser voluntarily agreed to remove that line and modify the commercial accordingly. But the rest of the ad was still subject to challenge. So NAD took a look at it without that line referencing the same way you make healthy food for people. The ad included images of the food being stored fresh, being grown, being shipped, being shown in the grocery store in its own refrigeration case, and it had the line that said, um, "Your dog deserves fresh, healthy food just like you." NAD said, as modified, that ad did not communicate a message that the uh, Freshpet dog food was human grade. The focus was on the freshness and the healthy qualities of the food, not making a direct comparison to human food and its quality. Just saying that, like you want fresh, healthy food for yourself, you also look for those things in food for your pets. So NAD said that as modified was okay. Another ad, which was a post in social media from a pet owner who said that we eat fresh, real food as much as possible at home. So of course we want the same for Benji, their dog, uh, and that fresh pet dog food is made with the same level of quality I want in my own food. There we said that the reference to the same level of quality may convey a message that it was human grade, and recommended that be discontinued there. And then finally, a third ad at issue there, which was primarily uh, image based, which was a silent ad, short video, which showed the human pet owner preparing their dinner with fresh vegetables and ingredients, and then the dog getting their fresh pet food served out of the fridge. There we said there was no message that the food were the two foods being depicted there were of the same level of quality, and that the dog food was of human grade. So we said that ad was fine. And then another very recent case involving dog food and a whole series of claims. This challenge was also brought by the farmer's dog. And the advertiser here was Sundays for Dogs, another player in that space. And they said there were a series of claims with about their cooking process, and that their slow cooking and drying helped preserve the nutritious value of the food and its flavor. There we said that in a monadic sense, they could make claims about about preserving the nutritional value and the flavor based on their process. But when it came to comparative claims, they didn't have the support that other products lost nutrition or flavor, because they hadn't properly tested that. Then there was a claim about here was an equivalence claim with an image of some ingredients, which said the same ingredients you put in your salad, but now in your dog's bowl. Here we said that this needed to be modified because they were not the same whole ingredients. The ingredients in the dog food were extracts. And also, when they were claiming that or characterizing the ingredients as superfoods, extracts were not equivalent to the superfoods themselves in the whole sense. So they couldn't make that claim. And that, they would have to disclose that what they were advertising or what they were providing were extracts derived from those ingredients. We said that they could make monadic, all natural, and no synthetic ingredient claims, but that they could not do that in a comparative sense because they had not shown that against the competing products. There was also a claim here about that the company had completed its successful mission in making the healthiest and most convenient dog food. We said here that this was not Puffery. It was an objective and measurable claim, so that should be discontinued. And then they also made some savings claims, talking about affordability, some of which we said mischaracterized competing products as not being affordable. But we said that they could make certain savings claims as long as they were indicating that the basis of comparison was an average of frozen dog foods, and not that these were specific comparisons being made. And then finally, they had a made in USA claim. We said that they could make this claim, but would have to make the appropriate qualifications, because there were the beef bone and fish oil were maybe didn't account for much volume in the food, but they were key ingredients, so that they would, because they were essential ingredients, they would have to make a qualified made in USA claim and not an unqualified one.
So it's springtime, and that means more than just flowers and trees blooming. It also harkens the start of flea and tick season. So I'm gonna touch on some of our recent cases. Elanco challenged Merck Animal Health's Brevecto Quantum product for dogs. So the claims included 365 days of protection, all in one dose, and year-long protection via extended relief extended release composition that delivers effective levels of floralaner for 12 months. Brevecto's FDA-approved labeling states that it can be administered once a year, except for dogs with a potential exposure to Lone Star ticks, which should be treated on an 8-month interval. But the advertising made unqualified 12-month protection claims, and that's problematic because it impacts consumer and veterinarian health-related decision-making, which looks to the cost and convenience of the regimen and the likelihood of compliance compared to treatments with more frequent administration. Here we had disclosures, but we found that the disclosures contradicted the main claim, focusing on dosing intervals. But there were other claims that focused on the mechanism of action and implied once a year dosing. And in those cases, while the disclosures were not effective because they were avoidable, the disclosure made clear that the 8-month dosing is needed for dogs exposed to the Lone Star ticks, and that was appropriate and not contradictory, given that the main claim focused on the mechanism of action. This matter is now on appeal before the NARB. In the Nexstar flea and tick case, which was also challenged by Elanco, the claims there were fastest acting 30-day topical protection available and the fastest killing flea and tick topical available, and related implied claims. The advertiser permanently discontinued the express claims, and so NAD treated those claims as well as the implied claims arising from them for compliance purposes, as though we recommended their discontinuance, and the advertiser agreed to comply.
So we'll finish with a few cases that deal with some of the unfortunately messier parts of having a pet, cleaning up after those messes and odors and stains. The first case is from a year or so ago, and it involved a product called Poof, PooPH. So a little bit of a clever branding there, and it promised some cleanup of stains and odors. They voluntarily discontinued certain claims of instant elimination of odors, but there were still some strong claims of odor elimination that were made, and they promised. The advertising here claimed elimination of any kind of odor you might associate with a pet. Unfortunately, all the things that they may leave behind. And NAD said with respect to the odor elimination claims that they would require support, that the nature of the claims here would require support, showing that they eliminated the odors, eliminated both the perception of the odor and at the molecular level. Um, the advertiser provided some testing, but the testing was not found to be reliable because it either did not simulate the odors being claimed as being eliminated, or use the correct formulation of the product in the right concentration. Then with respect to some stain elimination claims, it was unclear whether the testing showed that the stains were eliminated in their entirety, or that these were the kinds of stains that would be associated with the pet. And then I don't think I could do it justice in an audio only podcast, but there was some animated video, which I'll just say involves some dancing feces, and it had the line, "If it's not poof, it stinks." NAD said that was puffery, that it was clear from the context there that this wasn't a claim that other products smelled bad. It was just a characterization, way you might talk about, if it's not ours, it's not us. All our competitors stink. Just kind of being funny, a little bit of wordplay. But so that was puffery, and NAD said that was okay. But when there were specific claims about what the other products could and could not do, that they leave behind odors, or they only cover up the odor, that required support that the advertiser didn't have, for those had to be discontinued. And then lastly, there was a video demonstration showing somebody taking a spray of the product in their mouth. And the challenger here argued that there was a message here that the product was safe for eating, or safe for ingestion, in a way that might not be supported. NAD said here that, well, this was a very limited demonstration, and it was supported. The message was supported because the ingredients were generally recognized as safe by the FDA, so that there wasn't a safety concern with an ingestion as depicted there. You wouldn't feed it to yourself, feed it to your kid, but it was as safe as it was being depicted in the demo there.
Pet owners love their pets, but as for their pet hair, not so much. But how does your vacuum handle pet hair? Well, Dyson brought a challenge against Shark for its Vertex Pet Pro vacuum. I'm just going to focus on this one. There was another product at issue as well. And the focus here is on the no hair wrap claim. So Shark's Vertex corded and cordless tests picked up pet hair off the carpet and hard floors for 60 seconds and then 2 minutes of additional runtime, respectively, in accordance with the manual run times. And this was repeated 5 times for the corded vacuum and 7 for the cordless, and the results showed no hair wrap. NAD found that Shark provided a reasonable basis for its claims, but the demonstrations in the infomercial, which showed no hair wrap, did not specify the duration under which this was achieved. So NAD recommended that the demonstrations be modified to clearly and conspicuously disclose the actual runtime of the vacuum, so that consumers know that additional runtime is needed to have a clean brush roll.
So that wraps up our episode on pet products and some of the cases we've seen recently at NAD. So we thought we'd leave you just with a few takeaways, a few things to remember, keep in mind. First of all, the standards for substantiation don't change whether a product is being used for pets or humans. For instance, if you are making a claim about competing products, that's going to require reliable testing, just the same way as you would if it were a human product. There's no special rule for pets, and as long as the testing keeps in mind that these are products that are going to be used for pets.
Also, be mindful of not overselling the benefits of products for pets. Always make sure that your claims are tied to your support. So, make sure if, for example, if you're just making a comparison, if your testing only looks at one competing product, that you're not making any products that imply, superior benefits across the marketplace, and, make sure that whatever you're highlighting is supported, and it's narrowly tailored. And if you are using disclosures, make sure that they don't contradict the main claim and that they are clear and conspicuous.
So we will be back with more updates as later in the season on pet cases and the other product categories we're going to be talking about. We chose these industries because they are becoming a large part of our docket at NAD. So we're seeing a lot of them, and we will be back to update you with future cases in these industries that we're going to talk about this season. Thank you again for tuning into this episode of the Ad Watchers. We hope you enjoyed it.
Join us next month for another episode of the Ad Watchers. As always, you can head over to our website, bbbprograms.org, to learn more about what we do at the National Advertising Division or any of our other self-regulatory programs. That's all for this episode. See you next time. Thanks again for tuning into Ad Watchers. Be sure to check out our previous episodes at accountabilitystudio.org, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to get notified about our next episode.